Forget heat pumps. This buried pipe produces year-round 55-degree Fahrenheit air without electricity, refrigerant, or compressor. The HVAC industry doesn't want you to know it costs less than 1 month of your current power bill. Think about that. No gas line, no outdoor unit humming, no $25,000 invoice from a contractor. Just a simple plastic pipe buried 2 meters under your yard, quietly producing free heating and free cooling. For 50 years. It has been hiding in plain sight for centuries, so why aren't we using it? Let me show you the problem first, because most homeowners never realize how deep the trap actually goes. The average cold climate household now spends around $2,400 every year just to stay warm. That number used to be $1,200, then $1,800. Now it climbs every winter and nobody stops it. Gas tariffs rise, electricity tariffs rise, carbon taxes rise.
Your salary, of course, never rises at the same speed. So the industry offers a shiny new heat pump. $15,000 low end, $25,000 if you're unlucky. They promise it pays for itself in 10 years. They forget the compressor only lasts 12 and refrigerant leaks. They forget the service contract, annual inspection, filter replacements, smart thermostat subscription, all billed every single month. And every single watt still comes from a grid you do not control. Pays for itself? Hardly. And then the blackout hits, the ice storm, the summer heat dome. The grid fails for hours, sometimes days. Your $25,000 heat pump becomes a very expensive paperweight. Your family sits in the dark and cold, wondering why a modern home depends so completely on a wire from a power plant 200 kilometers away. This is the model industry sells you. Lock in, subscribe, pay forever. But a Roman trick solves all this.
The Romans called it a hypocaust adjacent system. The Persians built it into wind catchers 2000 years ago. The French call it a Provencal well. Canadians call it a Canadian well. Engineers call it earth-air heat exchanger. Same idea, same physics, same result. A long pipe buried deep, pulling outside air through constant earth temperature. For thousands of years, humans understood something we have forgotten. The ground, just 2 meters down, never changes temperature. It does not care if January or July. Sits at roughly 55 degrees Fahrenheit, day and night, year-round. The Earth is the largest, cheapest, most reliable thermal battery on the planet, and it sits directly under your lawn. The Persians used vertical shafts and underground canals to cool entire palaces in the scorching desert heat. The Romans ran air through stone channels under their floors. Farmers in France cooled wine cellars this way for centuries.
Then, around 1900, cheap coal arrived, cheap gas arrived, cheap oil arrived. Suddenly, nobody needed to think anymore. You just bought a furnace, you just paid a bill. The old knowledge was buried under decades of invoices. This is a low-tech solution, simple but powerful. The physics behind it is almost embarrassingly simple and forgotten. Surface air swings wildly. Minus 20 in February, plus 35 in August. A 60-degree annual swing. Go down half a meter, the swing shrinks. 1 meter shrinks more. 2 meters, the swing almost disappears entirely. The soil at that depth holds a nearly constant 10 to 13 Celsius, 55 Fahrenheit, all year, forever. Now imagine a pipe, 200 millimeters wide, 50 meters long, buried 2 meters deep across your suburban yard. A small fan pulls outside air through this buried tube before quietly delivering it straight into your home.
In winter, minus 10 Celsius air enters the freezing pipe and travels slowly through soil sitting at plus 12. Heat flows from warm earth into cold air. By your house it reaches plus 8, 10, even 12 degrees. You preheated freezing winter air 20 degrees. Zero fuel, zero gas, zero refrigerant. Your furnace barely needs to work. In summer, the same pipe reverses. Outside heats 35 Celsius. The soil still sits at a cool +12. Hot air enters, cold earth absorbs the heat, and by your house the air arrives at +18 degrees. You just air-conditioned the home without a compressor, without Freon, without a single kilowatt-hour of cooling energy spent. The ground itself does the work. Earth is your heat exchanger, your air conditioner, your radiator, all at once. It never gets tired, never breaks, never needs replacement. Now here is what the brochures never tell you. Let's compare this to a heat pump honestly, side by side. A modern heat pump is a beautiful machine. It moves heat instead of generating it. Coefficient of performance 3 means 3 watts heat per watt electric. That is genuinely impressive. But it still needs that 1 watt. Constantly, every minute the system runs. A 2000 watt heat pump pulls 2000 watts whenever it is heating every single minute. In a cold winter, that machine runs 10, 12, sometimes 16 hours a day. Multiply that by your tariff. That is your bill. That is the cable you cannot cut. Now look at the buried pipe instead. Pushing air through 30 meters of tube needs one small inline fan. Just one fits in your palm. It draws 30 to 80 watts, not 2000, not 1000, 80 watts on the high end. That is less than a single 90s light bulb, less than your phone charger and laptop combined.
No refrigerant, nothing toxic in the system, no compressor, nothing to seize, nothing to leak, nothing to recall. No outdoor unit to ice up in January, no service technician with a clipboard knocking at your door. The entire mechanical complexity of modern HVAC is replaced by physics, replaced by dirt, replaced by a tube. So ask yourself, why aren't we using it everywhere? Why is every new subdivision still plumbed with gas? Heat pump pads everywhere instead of buried air loops. Hold that question. The efficiency numbers will genuinely shock you. Engineers measure heating with a number called coefficient of performance, the COP. A gas furnace scores less than 1. A standard electric heater is exactly 1. A great modern heat pump achieves 3, maybe 4 in mild weather, falling to 2 in deep cold. Now measure the buried pipe identically. Only 80 watts of fan power needed. Produces 2000 watts of effective heating or cooling on a typical day.
That's a COP of 25. On a brutally cold day, when temperature differential is largest, effective COP can reach 40, even 50. Read that number again. 50. That's more than 10 times the efficiency of the heat pump you wanted. In real installed homes across Germany, France, Canada, and the American Midwest, monitored systems cut heating loads dramatically. 60 to 80% reduction. A house that burned $2,400 yearly now burns $400. In shoulder seasons, spring and autumn, the system supplies nearly all the comfort needed with just the fan running. The pipe itself lasts 50 years minimum. Polyethylene buried 2 meters deep faces no UV, oxygen or freeze cycles. Documented at 60, 70, even 100 years of service. There are 0 moving parts to wear out, ever. Nothing to maintain except cleaning the inlet filter twice a year. A child can do it in 5 minutes. The whole system pays for itself in 4 to 6 years.
After that, heating and cooling are essentially free. Pure profit for the next 4 decades. Time to see exactly how you build one, step by step. You start with a trench, 2 meters deep, sometimes free in colder regions. The length depends on your climate. For most homes, 30 to 40 meters of buried pipe is the right target for year-round comfort. If you're already digging for a foundation, extension, or septic line, the marginal cost of this trench is nothing. Even hiring a small excavator separately costs only $500 to $1,000 for a normal suburban yard. Into the trench, you lay a smooth-walled pipe. 100 to 200 millimeters diameter is the sweet spot. Polyethylene is ideal. Smooth interior PVC also works. But avoid corrugated pipe. Corrugations trap moisture and dust inside.
You want a clean inner wall the air can sail through, with no obstructions slowing your underground airflow down. Now slope the pipe, 1 to 2% downward grade, away from the house. This step is critical. As warm, humid air meets cold pipe walls in summer, condensation forms inside the buried tube every day. You want that water draining to a low point with a small condensate trap, not pooling where mold grows. At the outdoor end, build a small inlet tower. It rises about a meter above the ground. Put a coarse filter at the top. Mesh stops insects. Add a simple rain hood. That's the whole intake. At the indoor end, the buried pipe connects directly to your existing home ventilation system, however it's configured. If you have a heat recovery ventilator, an HRV, the buried pipe feeds its fresh air port. If you have a furnace or air handler, the pipe feeds directly into its return air side. If you have nothing, a single inline duct fan pushes the conditioned air directly into your living space. Total material cost. 100 meters of large diameter PE pipe runs around $300 to $500. The fan, the filter, the inlet hood, the condensate fitting, add maybe another $200 total. Dig the trench yourself with a rented machine and you walk away under $1,000 total. Hired out, $2,000 to $3,000 including the dig. Compare that to $25,000 for a heat pump. Compare that to a lifetime of gas bills. Now here comes the part that makes accountants smile. Let us run the math the way an engineer with 30 years of field experience would run it. Take a typical detached house in a moderate cold climate. Current heating and cooling bill $2,400 yearly. Install an earth-air heat exchanger. Real measured field data shows roughly 70% reduction in conditioning energy. That is $1,700 saved every single year. Use $1,700 as your honest middle. Year 1, save $1,700. Year 2, the same. By year 4, the entire installation is paid back. By year 5, the system produces pure surplus. Free energy, free heating, free cooling. It pays itself forever. Over 50 years, with modest inflation and tariff growth, total savings exceed $80,000 in cash. That is one university tuition, a down payment on a second home, a retirement boost. Sitting under your lawn, quietly working day and night, doing nothing but moving simple air through plain ordinary dirt, paying forever. In that same 50 years, the heat pump you almost bought would have been replaced twice or 3 times. Each replacement another $20,000, needing service contracts tied to a grid that may not even be there. Here's the part that sells anyone who lived through a blackout. The buried pipe needs only 80 watts. A single solar panel the size of a kitchen tray produces that easily with just a tiny battery backup. Your heating and cooling continue uninterrupted when the grid fails. Ice storm, heat dome, hurricane, your house holds steady. 55 degrees inside, naturally, because the planet itself is your battery. Why is this still a secret in 2026? There is no recurring revenue in a pipe. That is the entire answer. The HVAC industry runs on contracts, refrigerant top-ups, compressor swaps, filter subscriptions, brand loyalty. A polyethylene tube 2 meters underground generates 0 of those. Once installed, the installer can never bill you again. The manufacturer cannot sell you a smart upgrade ever. The utility cannot sell you a peak rate plan. The whole business collapses when a homeowner buries a pipe. Building codes still favor branded, certified equipment.
Earth-air exchangers, a low-tech assembly of generic parts, fall into gray zones. They are not banned, they are not encouraged. They are simply invisible in the codebook entirely. And what's invisible in the codebook is invisible to the lender, the appraiser, the insurance company too. Invisible to the new homeowner who simply does not know enough yet to ask the right question. Industry lobbies push hard against passive solutions. Billion-dollar businesses depend on selling you comfort in endless monthly installments. A buried tube is the opposite of that business model. 1,000-year-old comfort scaled to a single-family home. Payback faster than a new car. So you will not see this advertised. You will not see a commercial. No celebrity influencer holds a section of buried pipe in a glossy 30-second clip. The industry hides it. The information lives in engineering papers, German passive house manuals, French rural guides, obscure YouTube channels. Now you have it. One small addition makes it fully self-powered. Next video I will show you how to add a solar chimney. A solar chimney is a vertical black tube on the south side of your house. It heats in sunlight. The hot air rises. Rising air creates a natural draft, pulling air through your buried pipe. No fan needed. Zero electricity. Zero moving parts in the entire heating and cooling system. A house that conditions itself completely, using nothing but sun, dirt, and physics. We will build it together. Subscribe so you do not miss it. Share with anyone building a house, renovating, or paying too much for electricity. They deserve the truth. The pipe has been here for centuries. Now